Well, folks, after a 2-week hiatus from the episode land, we're back again for another rendition of your favorite podcast. Now, remember, tonight is going to be a special episode where we will not only do the NFC movie titles, and I think you're really going to like these. We'll do the NFC movie titles and rankings for each division in NFC. But before that, I am in Manny's family's fantasy football league this year. And it is called Quarter White. And we are going to do, that's not true. We're going to do the draft here in about 2 minutes. And so we will do the draft while on the episode with you. As soon as we're done with that, we will get to the NFC movie titles. For those of you who have already drafted your fantasy teams or who may be doing it this week, just remember, it never does you any good to only draft non-convicts. Guys, this is the Friday Junior edition of Box Scores and Bourbon.
And we are on the clock. Look at the box scores.
Box Scores and Bourbon.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
Baseball, box scores.
So football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box Scores and Bourbon.
All right. We are 60 seconds away from kicking off this draft. We are in fact, 60 seconds away. And in our random draft order, my co-host, JB, has gotten the second overall pick. So he will be jumping right into his picks, and he's going to tell us what he's going to be picking and maybe talk about his rationale. In the meantime, he's going to be lighting his cigar, and we are also going to cheers in another episode of Box Scores and Bourbon, JB.
Cheers, my man.
Cheers. This is exciting. We've obviously never done this before because this is the first year that you're actually joining our league. But I've never multitasked during an NFL draft. I take my picks very seriously. I like doing research during the draft, seeing where players are falling and what the rest of the league is doing. So this year's going to be feels like a lot of pressure to be able to manage our episode, having our conversations, and then jumping right into each pick. So we better be on our toes because we're not going to have too much time to think besides thinking about our picks and thinking about what we're talking about, JB.
Oh, I was going to go with Jamar Chase. They took him number 1.
Yeah, they did. They sure did. Well, you're on the clock now.
Dang it.
Jamar Chase was the projected number 1 pick, and he was swooped right up.
I'll go with Bijan.
Bijan Robinson? Can't go bad with him. I am watching to see what's going on with the rankings. I'm a little intrigued because there's a certain player that I'm watching that I might just take a little bit higher than where he's projected right now. So I'm waiting to see what the picks look like. I'm 4th or 5th right now on those selections. So there's 2 picks ahead of me and then I'm up. But I think I'm going to do a little bit of a reach. But you don't win if you don't gamble, JB.
This is true, but you also lose a lot when you do. That is I learned that from my father. Not because he was full of wisdom, but because I learned from his mistakes.
I mean, at the end of the day, casinos, if you always won at the casino for gambling, casinos would go broke pretty fast. So I guess there's a certain de facto losing aspect when it comes to gambling.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
Amir, then Saquon. You're finding Debo?
Last year's name carried over from this year. Debo was one of my top selections. But this year, I'm going with a little bit of a riskier pick because I do not trust. I don't trust that Saquon is going to have the year that he did last year. So I'm going to take Christian McCaffrey and hope that he stays healthy. So Christian McCaffrey was my
That is a
first.
risky pick.
It is. It is quite a risky pick.
Jeez.
That's exactly my point. So we
Talk
have.
about taking all the money in your checking account that's there for the mortgage and saying, "I'm going to Vegas, babe."
Heck yeah! Like I
See
said,
you
you don't
Monday.
win. You don't become a millionaire without gambling. I think that's what they say. That's how all millionaires.
You also don't become homeless without gambling. So
We have a few minutes before our picks come back up. Do you want to talk about some division stuff while we wait? I feel like it could be a good multitasking section.
yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that works.
Okay. So let's jump right into talking about some divisions in the NFC. I loved what we had going on in the AFC. I think all of social media's really loved a lot of your movie titles and a lot of your our
Yes,
take
I
on
think
where
so too.
our rankings are. So let's dive into one of the more unpredictable divisions, and we'll start with the South, with your South.
Yeah.
So we had last year we had the rankings go from Tampa, Atlanta, Carolina, and New Orleans. Tampa won the division. No other team made the playoffs. What
Correct.
are your feelings about how this division is going to look? I don't think it's going to be it's going to be a competitive division again, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be a competitive division because a lot of the four teams are like going to be in the hunt for too much of the year. I think it's going to be another one of those years where everybody's trying to finish 9-8 or so.
Yeah. I only have. It's really contingent on what Atlanta does this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll get into it when we do the movie titles. But I really have Tampa winning this division easily. It's not even a contest. I mean, in the grand scheme of all the divisions, the NFC South and the AFC South are the two weakest divisions in football.
By far. And
And
that's been the case for the last few years. It's never.
yeah, and
It
so
hasn't really changed.
I'm picking these stickers out of my socks, these stupid goat's heads.
Just take off your sock.
No, never.
Well, here's my thing about how this division is going, or how this division is looking. My thing is that Tampa Bay has won the division the last 4 years, ever since Tom Brady was there. But
Yeah,
they've done a good job at making sure they keep a lot of their pieces and they stay competitive. I think they stay competitive enough because they know that they don't have to necessarily reach so far to secure a division championship. So they don't have to like bring in a lot of these high expensive free agents, and they don't have to make these aggressive draft moves because they know that all they need to do is, be above mediocre at the worst, be above mediocre. 9-8 has won that division a few times in the last few years, and just like in the AFC side, 9-8 is like the floor that you should have. If they are just staying relevant enough to just be right above there the entire time or cruise to a winning record, the likelihood of them winning the division seems like it's pretty high. I think that's what they've done a good job at, and everybody else has been going through these waves of like rebuilds where they're all just trying to catch up to where they should be competitive, and Tampa is just coasting through, remaining relevant.
yeah. No, it's I think if you look at just the division as a whole, like I alluded to earlier, it's not it's really nothing to aspire to try to be great at. I mean, Carolina, not to spoil anything, not going anywhere. The Saints, I don't know what the heck they're doing at all. The Falcons, you got to, it's like an episode of The Office where they had two managers. Who's
Yep.
the quarterback of that team? I mean,
Yep.
who's doing that?
Yep.
And Tampa, I mean, look, Baker Mayfield is, like I predicted when he was drafted, would be a would be a really good NFL quarterback. I thought, of course, Baker being in Cleveland,
Yep.
no quarterback really succeeds in Cleveland.
It's where quarterbacks go to die.
Yeah. So, the opportunity to kind of go to an organization that is pretty decently run in Tampa, it bodes well.
Yep.
All
So
right,
while
I'm up now.
you are
I'm
on
up
the
now.
clock, and in the meantime, while your pick came up, my pick came across. I was looking at the draft board, and it's very typical for our league, anyways.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks start flying off the shelf pretty fast. So with my second pick, I took Joe
I
Burrow.
see that. What's wrong with your family?
They like the pretty names sometimes, so they swept a lot of the top tier quarterbacks justifiably.
I guess I should get a quarterback now then.
You probably recommend a quarterback sooner than later. Just depends on what you look for in a quarterback. So I ended up taking Joe Burrow, which was the last, in my opinion, one of the last top four
I don't
good
like
options.
the quarterbacks here, so I'm gonna. That's too much of a reach for me. I'm gonna go. Onto the top quarterbacks are Justin Fields. I mean, they got Baker Mayfield, they got Bo Nix, Kyler Murray. No one should take Caleb Williams. They
No,
got Jared Goff, Justin Herbert. Everyone seems to have taken their quarterback already, so I feel like I can wait.
I think you can wait too. I think it's like I said. I only took Joe Burrow because he was still on the board for me. I would
I'm
usually
going to
wait a
take
few
Bucky
rounds.
Irving.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So I've got Bijan Robinson and Bucky Irving on the backfield, and I got Brian Thomas as my receiver.
Not bad. So, what is going to be your strategy on the quarterback side? Are you just going to wait until it starts getting close to where a
Honestly,
projection is?
like the last 2 years, I'm not really focused on quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, because I want, and I may end up I mean, I'm not going to take Trevor Lawrence just because he's the quarterback of the Jaguars, but I've done really well at just kind of just picking my battles with the quarterbacks and kind of just rolling the dice on whatever it is week to week, and really relying on my skill position players to get it done.
That's smart. Usually, I go with that approach, and currently I'm on the clock again, so I'm trying to multitask as I converse. But like I said, it's just hard you just really have to get a gauge of how the picks are going, because all the good quarterbacks, as you noticed, they flew off the board by the end of the beginning or middle of the second round. So I'm going to go with the wide receiver, and maybe I should take a running back right away, but there's not too much that I'm confident in as far as another good, solid running back. I'm weary with running backs because they tend to get hurt, so I like having some depth there, but I want to round out my roster a little bit more. So I'm going to go with the wide receiver. A little bit of a reach again, but I'm going to take Mike Evans. Not bad. The established, reliable, always consistent Mike Evans is my wide receiver one right now.
Yeah.
Which brings us back into the conversation on the NFC South conveniently, and Tampa Bay's death grip on that division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only team that honestly has a real shot at dethroning them in the NFC South is Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not Tampa Bay, Atlanta, rather.
Yeah.
The
I agree.
Saints, we have no idea what they're doing with the quarterback situation. I still think it should be Spencer Rattler. And the Carolina Panthers, I have no idea what's happening there.
Do you think they're moving in the right direction with what they've done? They brought in some pieces in free agency. It looks like Bryce Young kind of figured out a thing or two towards the end of last year. Like, they weren't explosive by any means, but he didn't seem as rattled as he was towards the beginning of the season. Once he took the reins, the position again towards the end, it wasn't a drastic, like, miserable game to watch. He kept them competitive most of the games they were in.
Yeah. This is going to be the year we figure it out, because this is Bryce Young's third year. This is Dave Canales' second year there.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw what Dave Canales was able to do in Tampa Bay. And so, the opportunity for Dave and Bryce to have a full year under their belt. I mean, Dave Canales famously said that last year was Bryce Young's rookie year. That was his first year.
Yeah.
That was
Mhm.
his freshman year. So, anything that happened, anything that good came out of that was, just, lanyard. And we'll see what happens this next season. I'm a believer in Dave Canales. I think he can be a really good head coach in the NFL. The only problem is he's the coach of the Carolina Panthers, and that's it doesn't. There's not a lot. There's not a lot there that instills a lot of uh, hope,
Yeah.
inspiration, I guess.
Yeah. Long gone are the days of Cam Newton and Ron Rivera really having an established organization running in
Yeah.
the NFC South. I think it has a lot to do with the ownership. The ownership has zero patience for what's goes on in the field. They've fired coaches after 1 year, and they just don't have the patience to really let something develop. I think it reminds me a lot of how the Cowboys' reason for lack of success tends to be because Jerry Jones' involvement on the field and his GM mentality that he likes to pretend like he knows what he's doing. That's very similar with the Panthers. If your owner is that deep into the weeds, into seeing what's going on with your head coaching, and they're not giving them the patience or the leash to really build a team, you tend to not have very good success. If you think about all the teams that are constantly like in the conference championships or just competitive in the playoffs, very few of those teams you would regularly see their owners in the sidelines or getting involved too much. They let the organization run as they trust that the people that they put in place can make the right decisions.
Yeah. And this is, I know Carolina's got Dan Morgan in charge. Dan Morgan's, one of the more well-renowned Panthers in the history of the organization. He's upstairs running things. We'll see what happens. I like Xavier Legette. I just like his attitude. I like the way he speaks. It's fun. It's like listening to Foghorn Leghorn out there. And I do think Bryce Young could be a serviceable NFL quarterback. It's just taking some patience. And I can say for one thing, he's not quitting out there. I mean, he's absolutely trying his best and giving it his all. But at some point, you are a quarterback of one of the 32 NFL teams, and at some point, you're going to have to show something, regardless of what the system is or what the system's supposed to be. I know a lot of people giving up on Bryce Young, but we're all supposed to believe in Caleb Williams is the next great hope. And I'm like, I don't know how you get that from a game against the Buffalo Bill third and fourth stringers. It's at some point in the NFL, you're going to have to show that you can play the game, that you deserve to be one of the 32 quarterbacks. And if not, then you know what? Chad Kelly's out in the Canadian Football League. Jim Kelly's nephew. Go get him. Okay?
Yep.
Go get Chad Kelly. Bring him on the squad.
And I'll give you a pause because you are on the clock again.
Now.
So I will give you the opportunity to make your pick. While you do that, I'll transition us to talk about my pick and how we're going to tie that into the next division, because I ended up picking Swift with my 4th round pick as a running back from Chicago. So we'll talk about the NFC North a bit and transition to having a discussion about what we think is going to happen with that division. I think that NFC North is going to be such a competitive division again. Across the board, all 4 teams I think are going to be pretty competitive, and I'm curious in what that's going to look like. Are they going to beat each other up to the point where nobody has an established big win ratio, or if they're gonna just all be really competitive against every other team that they're playing up against, and all teams could possibly end up with a winning record. Do you think Chicago has a good chance of being 500 or above?
If Tyson Bagent is a quarterback, yes.
Tyson who?
Tyson Bagent, the backup.
Oh,
The backup to Caleb Williams. Like I do not believe in Caleb Williams. I
really?
don't. There is nothing there that instills any confidence. I don't. He holds on to the ball way too long. He and then honestly, I mean, against those. Hold on, I'm up at the pick now.
Oh yeah, you are. This is flying by. This is such a fast pace.
Is this flying by? Because this is taking forever.
We're already on round 5. We're a third of the way done. It seems like it's not giving us too much time to even really think about what we want to do. But yeah, like as I answer the question that I was asking you, I do like what Chicago has done. I want to be cautiously optimistic that Caleb Williams can actually figure some things out, especially with Ben Johnson as his head coach. They seem like a really good match. The offense that they run seems like it works well for each other. I would beg to say that I'm pretty confident they would end up right about the 500 point. I don't think they're gonna. Last year they ended up with their final record was 5-12. I don't think they'll be anywhere close to that. I don't think they'll take a step back. I think they could easily improve by 3 wins, two and a half would be the betting margin for what I think they can improve by. So that would put them at 7 or 8 win season. Which, if you look at what the Chicago Bears have been trying to do, that to me is very optimistic. It brings a lot of optimism for the organization.
Yeah, I mean, it is nice if you're a Bear fan. You have the option now to cling to a hope of what could be, and being in this era now where you have Caleb Williams and the potential, I guess, that he brings just with his pedigree as a former 5-star recruit and being the starting quarterback not only at Oklahoma but also USC. You know, it does bring about a certain amount of flair. The issue is that I don't know how much you can depend on the character of a man who is crying to his mom in college because something didn't go his way. First of all, if you're a grown man, you shouldn't be crying in public. You just shouldn't be. There are very few things that allow you to cry in public. The death of a family member, the death of the family dog. You know, there are very few things, and the fact that he's going to go cry and hug his mom because something didn't go his way. I get it happened in college, but I mean, clearly this man's really close to his mom because he's still painting his fingernails. There's nothing there that I don't trust it. I don't trust his mental headspace.
He's young still. How old is he? 22? I don't know how old
he is. But I mean, look, you look at these quarterbacks that are coming to NFL now. I mean, like they are strong mentally. Yeah, they're going to make, mental mistakes on the field, but what's their, how thick-skinned are they? Are they thick-skinned? Can they take, a little bit of criticism? Can they take any criticism at all? And it's one of those things where I'm not going to doubt Caleb Williams, his physical attributes. The dude's got a great arm. Okay, he can spin a football, and he has the looks of an NFL quarterback. It's everything up here.
Yeah.
It's everything between the ears. Like, I don't know how strong he is mentally. I don't. Yeah. I mean, when stuff isn't going his way, now he's in a new offense.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Johnson gets hired. 6 seconds later, we're hearing, "Oh, it's probably going to take him 2 years to learn this offense." It shouldn't take him that long. His job is to be an NFL quarterback. What is he doing other than studying? What's he doing?
Well,
Going to Sephora?
according
Picking up nail
according
polish?
to according to reports, he was never quote unquote taught how to study film in his early age in college and in his last year as a rookie. Why are you giving Bryce Young a better, like more of a benefit of the doubt than you are Caleb Williams? We could easily consider.
I'm not giving Bryce Young benefit of the doubt. All I'm saying is that Carolina, there's really not much there. I mean, Carolina has not improved really anything at all. The O-line got worse than it did last year. The defense is still abysmal.
Mhm.
There's really not that much there. It's really Dave Canales is there just helping out and then seeing what he can do with Bryce Young. Caleb Williams is surrounded by talent.
Yeah, that's
He's got
true.
nothing but weapons on that Chicago side of the ball, on the offense side of the ball. Nothing but talent. They've invested so much into this team. The defense is going to be stout as it usually is. You bring in Ben Johnson. You bring up this guy who is an offensive wonderkin. If I'm going to sit here and say Bryce Young versus Caleb Williams, I'm going to put more pressure on Caleb Williams because he has everything there. He's got everything at his fingertips, at his beautiful powder blue fingertips.
Manicured, beautiful manicured fingertips.
Everything is there. So what are you going to show us? How to that you belong in this league? I don't have much of a, I'm not looking at Bryce Young saying, "Oh, the pressure's on." Not really. It's Carolina. They can take their time. What's happening there? Nothing. They get that. They end up with the number 1 pick. They go get Garrett Nussmeier. Okay, go get Arch Manning. I mean, look. I mean, you got a plethora of opportunities.
Sure,
but but the pressure for Caleb Williams is so much higher. So much higher.
well, I mean, the whole point of bringing Ben Johnson in was the fact that he was supposed to be such a smart coach that helped establish such a good system in Detroit. I guess I would say if it's not doesn't start looking good this year with Ben Johnson in place, then I would start having a little bit of doubt on as far as how much Caleb Williams actually going to be able to do. And I am not one to shy away from saying that quarterbacks that are drafted high are busts, or that they're not going to be as good as their draft stock was supposed to be. Just look at how much I beat up Trevor Lawrence for the type of quarterback that he is. I'm not saying that that Caleb Williams is at Trevor Lawrence's level already, but I'm just saying I'm not one to shy away from the criticism. If it's very young in their career, I start seeing something that doesn't look completely right.
Yeah. No.
Did you take a quarterback yet?
I'm about to.
I am on the clock again, and I think... Oh man. There is a sneaky pick that I'm not too sure I want to take the risk on right now on the wide receiver side. I think I'm going to take another wide receiver running back combo where I am right now. But I'm going to take a tight end, I think. Actually, yeah, I'll take a tight end. I'm going to take Hawkinson out of Minnesota, tight end. I'd rather have an established tight end than trying to scramble for the tight end picks, especially with Minnesota. We can talk about Minnesota, consider we're talking about that division still. With JJ McCarthy taking the reins of that team this year, finally. I feel like young quarterbacks very regularly rely on their tight ends so much because they're the biggest target that tends to be running right in front of their face. 95% of the time, it's like the easiest way to get completions, and when you're panicking, you can easily get it to your tight end that they're going to be somewhere in the general close vicinity, and you can have that reliable safety net. JB is on the clock again. See, we're flying through this stuff. What did you end up doing, JB?
Kyler Murray.
That's your quarterback?
Yep.
Not the worst. And
I'm about to pick another one right now.
I'm as we continue to have the conversation about the NFC North, I want to ask you, what is your expectation, and how do you feel Detroit is going to look losing both of their key coordinators on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, look, when you lose, two of the top coordinators on both sides of the ball, I think it's happened, 4 times in the last 25 years.
No.
When you lose your top two coordinators on the offensive defensive side and they go be head coaches somewhere else, I mean, it's not going to be, the smoothest transition. But I look at Detroit and I look at the culture that Dan Campbell has established there, and he's the one that built that coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
He built that coaching staff out of high character dudes who know the game and they know how to play the game and they know how to develop the players to play the game the right way. And when you bring in high IQ guys like that from the very beginning, I mean, you look at Dan Campbell's first year there. Well, Detroit won one game? They went 1-15 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they immediately turn it around the next year, and it's one of those things where the culture matters. And if you're going to build a culture, especially in a locker room or even in a city, if with that team that really hasn't had the best culture really in a long time.
Yep.
There's really not much excitement going on there. When you bring in these guys to help you raise up and pour in and invest into the players on the field, it's it's almost this snowball effect where you could see the guys that they're hiring, but Dan Campbell's hiring, and then also look at just the ancillary coaches. Look at all the assistants to the assistants. Look at them. And then they're in the building too. They see how they see what the culture is. They've adopted it. They've assimilated to it. It's theirs now. It's a part of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they've seen this team for the last, I mean, outside the ones that they brought in, this off season, it's still a coaching staff that has been there for the majority of the time Dan Campbell's been there. So it's not going to be a smooth transition, like I said, and I'm not going to give anything away with my rank with my how I think the division's going to stand, but I don't think it's going to be that far of a drop off. I think.
But is there a drop off with what they win last year? 12 games?
No, they won.
Oh, with 15.
15.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah.
I think by default it'd have to be a drop off. It's going to be hard to win 15 games again, especially with the rest of the teams getting better. And I would argue the other three teams all got better.
They did get better, but I'm saying that if you go 15 games and you drop down to 12, okay, it's not a far drop off. You're still one of the elite teams, in the league. You're still top 10 in the entire league, and so really, what Detroit's going to have to worry about is injuries.
Yeah,
can they stay off of the IR? Is this going to be a season where, yes, we had changeover in the front office, but you know what? We are healthy. We have, conditioned ourselves to be, here, to play the long haul of this season, to prevent these injuries from taking us off the field. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson got hurt really early last season. Midway through the season, he got hurt.
Yep.
And that really just kind of changed the trajectory. And, of course, you got Ben Johnson there, who is, an offensive wizard, and the Lions are able to put up all these points on their opponents when the defense can't hold. But, Aaron Glenn was also someone that knew how to, piece together a defense, and he was able to coach them. I think if the Lions can stay healthy, if their primetime guys can stay on the field, I think that'll help with the transition here.
Yeah.
Now, if they experience what they experienced last year, like I said, with the injuries, then yeah, I mean, it's going to be a different ballgame.
It would
because
be such bad luck if they had the amount of injuries that they did last year, and I think it's goes under notice. Maybe not to a lot of people, but it does go under notice that even with how many injuries they had, they still won 15 games. We're talking about the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, leaving and how much of a downfall or step back they're going to take. They were playing with second strings, pretty much what 3/4 of their starters were second strings or third strings or whatever the heck they were on the depth chart, and they still managed to win 15 games. I do think we have to give Dan Campbell some credit because at the end of the day, he's calling a lot of those shots of what he sees on the field and what he wants and how he can make those pieces work for the coordinators. The coordinators establish offensive schemes and they establish plays, but at the end of the day, Dan Campbell is the driving force behind those. The fact that he was able to get 15 games out of that roster, maybe we're looking at it the wrong way. We could say, well, maybe they can even get better. They can still win 15 games because the likelihood of them having the plague of injuries that they did last year, it would be unheard of for them to have that many injuries again for 2 years in a row.
yeah, and I agree because this is a Dan Campbell culture. This is what he has built from the ground up. This is what he has built, and obviously the coaching staff buys into it. The rest of the league buys into it because they hired away his 2 top coordinators to be head coaches, and then the guys that left took their own assistants with them, and the players in the locker room buy in because again with the injuries, it was hey next man up, let's do this, and it will be it's hard to sit here and say that there won't be some hiccups because I mean it is regardless of what the culture is, you got nuances with how guys like to coach. I get that. I mean that makes sense. You're trying to make a name for yourself. This is how you see the game. This is how you're trying to establish your reputation in the league as to what type of coach you're going to be, and that makes sense. And so, because of that, there's going to be hiccups because it's not going to be just, hey, it's a new year. Here's, Uncle Ben and Uncle Aaron, just leading the charge. No,
just
it's
keep
not.
going. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
The one team that we haven't really touched on is the Green Bay Packers. They still had a really good season last year. They made the playoffs, and I feel like maybe they're not getting too much attention in the storyline just because they didn't win the division. They're not the Detroit Lions. Chicago has all this attention behind them because Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. But I feel like the Packers should get some relevancy and get some attention for the way that they've been operating their system. They drafted a wide receiver in the first round, right?
Yes.
And the problem was last year their inexperienced receivers. They won 11 games with their receivers being the reason that they were typically struggling because they just for some reason they couldn't figure out what catching a ball actually meant. With them having the experience under the belt, getting a wide receiver like Matthew Golden in their roster that was really good in college, and now he's hopefully that carries over. They should be in a pretty good position to push the Detroit and Minnesota for first or second place in that division.
Yeah, and again, not to give too much away from what I have here, but I really like Green Bay this year.
I do too.
I don't, and I'm talking as I'm looking at who I'm going to pick next.
Oh yeah, you're on the clock.
I don't. I know Jordan Love had a down year last year, and I know he's got that hand injury. I'm not worried about the hand injury. I'm not worried about Jordan Love. Period.
I don't think so. They're almost for some reason people are like almost jumping ship on Jordan Love, even though he had a really good season the first year that he was a true starter. I think he made the Pro Bowl, whether it was by de facto because nobody else wanted to play or not. But he had a good first year as a starter when they completely obliterated the Cowboys in the playoffs. And last year wasn't, like you said, it wasn't an abysmal season. I think a lot of the issues arose because he started losing trust in what his receivers could do with him. For some reason, it's becoming a thing where everybody's trying to say Jordan Love is overhyped, and he's not really all that. Like the guy has shown that he can lead a team, that he can actually establish himself as a quarterback. I personally don't see an issue with the way that Jordan Love is developing, considering the fact that he sat on the bench for 2 years, 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers. I think he's in a great place. He signed an extension that made a lot of sense for how much experience he had. And I think the way that he moved their offense was not something that people should say, oh my God, we're worried about what the Packers have as their QB number one. Like, I think they're in a really good position, honestly. I don't think they should miss a beat at all. They've only, like, I'll repeat it again, all four teams should be getting better. The Packers for sure got better from this year from last year.
They absolutely did, and I love what they did with the receiving core. The receiving core got better.
Mm-hmm.
They got better for Jordan Love. And look, I mean, even with all the, the scuffles that Jordan Love suffered last year, the Packers are still in a really great position, and it's not like this team took a really huge step back last year. Jordan Love struggled. Okay, that's I mean, that's bound to happen. But I as long as Matt LaFleur's there, I don't see any reason for Green Bay to panic at all.
No.
I think this is a team that is poised, and they are quite frankly blessed that Detroit lost the two top coordinators of last year. They lost them.
Mm-hmm.
They're gone now. They're in the AFC East, in the NFC, not NFC South, in the and then they're still in the NFC North with Chicago with Ben Johnson there. But I mean, it's the Bears. Now, I will say that Jordan Love struggled against the NFC North last year. He went 1-5 against them. The only team he beat was the said Bears, and they barely beat them.
Yep.
So if Green Bay is going to have a shot at really staying competitive in this division, they're going to have to at least go 3-3 in this division this season. You cannot have a sustained, success or playoff hopes if within your own division you are playing, 200 ball.
No.
So you need to be able to find a way to split the difference there and at least come out 500. That's 2 more wins right there. And you're doing it in a division that is one of the more difficult positions in football. And I would say the NFC North, the AFC North, and the AFC West are the 3 toughest divisions in football right now. And if Green Bay is going to have any shot at taking the division, they're going to need to be better within the division itself.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the best thing that could have happened for the Packers is the fact that Ben Johnson not only left Detroit, because Detroit was just this monster of a team last year where nobody could you weren't not going to outscore Detroit. Not only did Ben Johnson, the crazy maniacs, mad scientist that was creating that explosive offense, left Detroit, but he went to a division rival. It might not look like the best situation because you kept such a smart coach in your division, but I think it's going to bring more balance to the division as a whole. And that's why I'm saying it's like a blessing that he stayed in the division, because it's going to, it's almost going to me, it's going to be like a claw that drags the other 3 teams down, from the Chicago Bears being the team that drags the other 3 teams down, because they're good, because the Chicago Bears are going to be so competitive. By default, it's going to put the Packers in a better position to actually be more competitive. Like you said, 1-5 is not something that you're going to be able to say we're competitive or we have a good in a good position.
That's not sustainable for a playoff run.
No,
especially
no
in
means.
a division where you are essentially competing with 2 other teams within your division just to make the playoffs.
Right. And if you're banking on all we need to do is win a wild card, I would be cautious as far as banking on that because a lot of the NFC teams are not going to necessarily be. It's not a top heavy division or conference, but a lot of the teams that are going to be fighting for those wild card spots throughout the entire year, they're all going to be very smashed together. So if you're banking on, well, we just need to win a wild card game, that might not be as easy as it seems. I think it's going to be a little bit harder to win a division, a wild card position, because all the teams are going to be right there, and you're going to have to find some competitive edge and get some competitive advantage over everybody else. The division needs to be obviously the number one goal, but wild card is not going to be an easy gimme either by any means.
Yeah. So, and like I said, it's not. It wouldn't be inconceivable for me to see, especially in a year transition, when you have Minnesota coming from an established NFL veteran, one who really came out in the open last year and showed that his play on the field matched the character of who he is in Sam Darnold. And now you're going with J.J. McCarthy. There's question marks there, of course.
Sure.
And then I guess, and then you have Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to take Caleb Williams 2 years to learn this offense? Like, how long is it going to take? Because he's not going to be playing the third string Buffalo Bills every week. It's not going to happen.
No.
So at some point, it's going to be, the piss will get off the pot. When push comes to shove, can Caleb Williams actually respond and play according to what Ben Johnson has already put in play for Chicago?
Yep.
And then, of course, Detroit. Again, beating the dead horse.
Yeah, we'll.
So it's not inconceivable for me to see Green Bay, if they improve their division play this year, which, I mean, can't be hard. You only won one game last year, so you got nothing more than go up. I can't see them going 0-6. So, I mean, going 3-3 seems like a pretty manageable expectation here. It's easy. I mean, I can make the argument for Green Bay to win the division. I can. I can see the path forward there.
Yeah, exactly. But that's enough about the NFC South. Let's move on to. The NFC North. Yeah, let's move on to the West, where the Rams, I guess miraculously, maybe for some people, won that division, and Seattle finished second, Arizona finished third, and then San Francisco finished fourth with 6-11. Another one of those teams where it was more of an injury plague than anything else. Do you think there's a likelihood that division is just going to flip upside down? What are your thoughts on that division? I feel like that one's one of those like all over the place divisions.
Yeah, this one I don't want to get too far ahead of myself like the other ones, but this division's going to hinge on Matthew Stafford's back. If Matthew Stafford's back turns out to be not nearly as big a problem, if maybe it's being hyped up, I don't know, but if Stafford's back becomes an issue, then I don't care how many young guys the Rams played last year, and then I don't care that they were one of the least penalized teams in the NFL. Who's your quarterback?
Right.
Like it's a sharp drop off, once you have your starting quarterback go on the injured list.
Yeah.
And this is and especially after if Stafford misses any time, how much hope do you have in
the Rams?
And being a Rams fan, and then you hear, oh, it's okay, we have Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that's such a slippery thing. And
that is such a sharp drop off. That is a cliff.
Is it really? My thing is it like that big of a drop off? I understand. I understand.
Look, if okay, the only thing working for Jimmy Garoppolo are the offensive weapons that Los Angeles has.
True.
And
But here's my thing with that. Like, let's just say Matthew Stafford is hurt at the beginning of the season, as they're saying they're not too sure what that injury looks like and if he's going to be ready. They're leaning towards he's going to be ready, but let's just say he's not ready for week 1, week 2, maybe even 3 weeks. Jimmy Garoppolo's not like some scrubby like backup quarterback that you're just bringing off the street. He was established of a quarterback for like riding the ship for a few years. He carried the 49ers. Well, he didn't carry the 49ers to a Super Bowl.
I would be careful. Words matter. I would be careful.
But he was the quarterback for the 49ers when they made the Super Bowl. And at the end of the day, the gripe with him was that like he's good, but he's not like it's the small details that really are the wins that cause the wins and losses, and the small detail was what caused them to lose that Super Bowl against Kansas City. But they're not relying on Jimmy Garoppolo for the entire year. They're banking on him being the stopgap for the time that Matthew Stafford is hurt if he misses any games. I would like to think that that's a pretty good backup with a lot of experience. He has experience with a diverse of teams, and he was coached by Bill Belichick in New Orleans. That he knows he's been the student of football for a while. I wouldn't necessarily throw the
Bill
towel in.
Belichick coached the Saints. Wow.
What? No, Jimmy Garoppolo in New England was coached by Bill Belichick. That is my point.
He said in New Orleans.
No, if I did, I misspoke, but I meant in New England.
No, but I hear what you're saying, and yeah, I mean he's had some glimpses, but to sit there and say Jimmy G, I mean, look, he's an established quarterback by name and by recognition alone. I mean, that's it. Is it my pick yet?
No, I'm on the clock right now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's a very fast paced situation.
I missed 2 picks.
Did you really?
They auto drafted for me, which is fine. I got Colson Loveland, and then I got a kicker. So
I'm about to do something crazy, but it might be a sneaky risk. I guess I'm a gambling man.
You gonna get the kicker for the Jaguars?
No, better yet, I'm gonna get the two-way player from the Jaguars.
Oh,
I'm gonna draft Travis Hunter because he's still sitting there. Call me crazy, but I mean, in fantasy, you need players that are gonna be constantly on the field to get you points. Maybe it doesn't pay off that well for fantasy football. Just the way that maybe it's gonna backfire on the fact that he's gonna be on the field 100% of the time, possibly, as the coach is saying that he might be. Maybe it'll backfire, but there's some risk, but there's something to gain there. But let's go back to the NFC West, because I think there's a lot of if there was one way that I could describe that division as a whole, it's the uncertainty behind all of it.
If it is Jimmy G, if Stafford does end up missing some time, you have Devontae Adams. They just signed him. They brought him in this offseason. You still have Puka Nacua. And, that O-line's not terrible. And then you have a running back room with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum.
And they have Devontae Adams, too.
That's what I said, yeah. I said at the top, like, they brought in Devontae Adams. And so there's a weapon. And Tyler Higbee he's a decent tight end. So, this isn't anything where it's going to be one of those things where you look at it and be like, how on earth are they going to survive? Yeah, it's because you bring in Devontae Adams because you have Matthew Stafford there. You want that connection. And I'm not saying Jimmy G can't throw a deep ball, but it really takes away from so many different elements of the offense if you know that if you just rush the backup quarterback, they're really going to, it's going to be a little bit easier to get to him. So it's going to be a lot easier for defenses to play against the backup quarterback than they will against Stafford. And that's if Stafford does end up missing some time. And I'll go a little bit further. I'm not saying they should do this, but say Stafford misses time. Say Stafford's going to miss, I don't know, 8 weeks. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but let's just say, if he does miss time and it takes a little bit longer for that to heal, he is a lot older than he used to be.
Yeah.
Is it possible that they turn to another Georgia alum that they drafted, Stetson Bennett, and say, Stetson, we brought you in here to see if you can be the future beyond Matthew Stafford. Let's see what you can do.
That's not the worst quarterback to fall onto. And I saw some of the highlights from his preseason action. I know you can take the preseason with a grain of salt, but he looked pretty solid in the pocket. Like he didn't seem too nervous when he was moving that offense. I think he ended up leading a game-winning. Bless you, JB. And I think he ended up leading a game-winning drive with the Rams during one of their preseason games. But it's not the worst position to be in. I don't think they have the worst quarterback room. I think they have a pretty good quarterback room if they have to rely on their backups.
Yeah.
Your sneezing was contagious. Oh, excuse me. But then there's one team. We've talked about the Rams. We talked about the Rams in San Francisco. The two wild cards are Seattle and Arizona. Arizona is just like building on what they did last year. Seattle has now Sam Darnold in place as their quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about Sam Darnold. Like, was it more of a Vikings offense that worked for him, or do we really think he turned the corner when it comes to like, okay, now he's like a good starting quarterback for a team? That's where I'm torn. We got one good year out of him after many, many years of seeing him struggle. And I know the team that you're in makes a big difference when it comes to like a quarterback play. But 1 year for us to say, yeah, we're good to go with Sam Darnold as our quarterback, that just seems to me like a big reach from, I guess maybe if you said compared to Geno Smith, it's not the worst of a reach. It's kind of almost like the same thing. But it just doesn't sit well with me too much.
I mean, look, I actually like the play for Sam Darnold. I do. This is, I think when we were watching the Seahawks the last couple years, no one sat there and said, oh, wow, you know who's really going to come alive? Geno Smith. So, Geno absolutely helped reshape and redefine his career there. And then I think I misspoke. Did Dave Canales come from Seattle?
He went from Seattle to Tampa to
he did.
Seattle to Tampa to now with Carolina.
He did. That's right. Yeah, because he was the one that helped the resurgence for Geno Smith.
Yep.
And then he was the one behind Baker Mayfield really establishing himself. So, I actually like Sam Darnold a little bit more in this offense than I do Geno Smith. A lot of people like to put the blame on Sam Darnold's ability last year toward the second half of that season with Minnesota. Minnesota kind of struggled to put points on the board. It was really that defense that kind of kept them in so many games.
Yep.
And it was, and then now Sam Darnold's in Seattle. This Seattle defense is just top notch. I mean, Mike McDonald's got this defense on lockdown. You don't bring a guy in from Baltimore and then say, hey, make the defense worse. He doesn't know how to do that. Okay. He came from one of the best run organizations in baseball. And so, I mean, not baseball, in football. I'm watching the Cubs game right now. He came from one of the best run organizations in football. And now he's in Seattle. That defense is on lockdown. That O-line was a real issue for Seattle last year. They went and they went and improved it. They went and grabbed Gray Zabel from North Dakota State in the first round. It's like the first time in eons that Seattle actually spent a number one pick on an offensive lineman. So they're doing stuff to improve the interior on both sides of the ball, especially on the O line, and
Mhm.
being able to give that protection for Sam Darnold, but more importantly, be able to open up those lanes for Kenneth Walker, for Zach Charbonnet, and
Yep.
then with look, no one's going to confuse him with Justin Jefferson,
No, of course
but
not.
but but Jackson Smith and Jigba has
He's
an
pretty good.
opportunity to
He's
be
a
a
step.
top 5 receiver in this league.
They do. I'll give you a. I think you're on the clock right now, so I'll give you a chance to make your pick if you so desire. But like, I think the one thing that you can say about Seattle is that they have a well-rounded core of like playmakers, not necessarily explosive playmakers, but they are playmakers that you can rely on are going to be consistent and steady. You were just uh, mentioning some of the names that they have in place. Again, they're not the flashiest names, but if you see the way that Seattle was operating last year, especially on the offensive side, they weren't they weren't putting up miraculous points, but they knew how to move the ball. I would rather have a team that consistently moves the ball, whether it's picking up 10 yards at a time or maybe like whatever that looks like as far as yards. Moving down the field to me is more important than being able to have the explosive plays. And I think Seattle has the good core of playmakers to just be able to move the ball down the field. They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna be explosive where they just get deep shots and fast paced offenses. But I think you're in a better position if you have an offense that can control the field and it can control the clock, because then the other team is really at the mercy of what your offense is capable of doing. And I think Seattle's offense is capable of controlling the clock, controlling the pace of the game, and I think that puts them in a really good position for that division.
Yeah, I honestly, it's not. I'm going to go back to the Green Bay scenario. It's not hard for me to see a world where Seattle can win this division. It's not. And like I said, if Matthew Stafford ends up missing time, and say Sam Darnold clicks in this offense, it's definitely one of those things where if I'm the NFC West, I'm looking at Seattle. And Seattle has very much a good shot to win. And I'll maybe I'll still give the edge to the Rams just because of their ability to play young guys, and then also their discipline on both sides of the ball. Again, one of the least penalized teams in the league.
Yep.
So there is a way for LA to still win this division, but I wouldn't count Seattle out of it. I wouldn't.
No, of course not. But is that, are we forgetting, or are we just giving a lot of credit to the fact that San Francisco, what they were, are no longer? Like, they've lost a lot of pieces. Are we looking past the fact that San Francisco was who they were, or are we just expecting them to have a huge drop off in the type of game that they were playing? Because they were, for a few years, there was no doubt that San Francisco was going to be in the playoffs. They're going to make a huge push towards the conference championship. Like,
Yeah.
now we're talking about the division being between the Rams and Seattle, even though San Francisco is still right there.
Yeah, I think this division is going to be less about if San Francisco can figure it out and more about LA and Seattle. If Matthew Stafford was healthy, this division is a runaway. There's just and maybe Stafford misses 2 games. Maybe it's not that extended.
Yeah.
And so, but but this injury, I mean, it's it causes you to pause. It really does. I mean, the Rams are still one of the top 10 teams in the league. But I also see Seattle there. I mean, Seattle is one of those up and coming teams. They're doing everything right. They're
Yep.
doing what they need to in order to put themselves in the best position to win. And you look at San Francisco; they did a lot to strengthen that defense. But is this going to be something where you're going to have to do workload management on Trent Williams? You're going to have to do a workload management on your left tackle. What's life look like after Debo? Now, Debo wasn't lighting anybody up last year, but I mean, this has been, part of, Brock Purdy's development. Debo has his entire career that he's been there. So, I mean, it's a short career, but I mean, that's Debo is
he was a big part of it.
He was a big part of Brock Purdy's success, that offensive success.
Yeah. I'm curious. I think a lot of that's going to be whether Ayuk comes back and is the wide receiver that they thought he was going to be. The injury last year was not. Obviously, it's not all injuries are possible, but it was such a fluke that he got hurt because he hadn't been like the receiver that you had necessarily been concerned would be injured. But I guess like I said, this division as a whole gives me uncertainty where I just can't really get a gauge of what is going on with it. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being San Francisco at the top and then Seattle and then the Rams third because of the struggles with the quarterback. Like, if that happened, I would not be surprised at all. Would I be surprised if Arizona won the division? Yes, that would take a miracle. But that being said, let's dive into the last team in that division with Arizona because what is Arizona doing? Not too sure. They're building onto something, and we don't even know if the something that they're building on revolves around Kyler Murray. Every year, there's the uncertainty of is Kyler Murray the quarterback, and then the season ends, and it's a bust of a season, and then we have the conversation on is Kyler Murray the quarterback for the future for Arizona. It's just such a weird dynamic that is going on in Arizona, and I think part of it is because the head coach he inherited Kyler Murray, and that's always like a weird thing whenever a head coach doesn't get to pick the quarterback that's going to run their team, because of course the quarterback is the most important piece, so the head coach should have the biggest say on the quarterback that's going to drive their offensive scheme or their offensive image. It just seems like such a weird thing to me that even though Kyler's not, I don't think Kyler Murray's a scrub of a quarterback. It just seems like for some reason Arizona just doesn't want him, but they're tied to him with the contract that they have with him, so they're just like waiting it out and trying to build everything else around him. To me, it's a very weird situation to be in as an Arizona fan. If I was an Arizona fan and I saw what was going on, I'd be wondering if it's a competitive team or if it's just a constant rebuild thing, or if we're waiting for San Francisco and the Rams to kind of wash out so that we can build around them and then wait for them to fall off and we can take over the division. It gives me more, when I look at the Arizona Cardinals, it gives me more questions than it gives me like stability of what the path for the future is for them.
Yeah, Kyler Murray had his best statistical season last season since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell yes. Nico just caught a liner at second base to end the game against the Brewers, who had the bases juiced and down by 1 run with 2 outs.
Dang. Man. Yeah, we'll need to dive into a season check-in on baseball, because some weird things have been happening, especially in your team's division. So we'll have to make sure that we check in on the Brewers and the Cubs, because we're in August. We're the road to October is right around the corner.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the Arizona Cardinals. What is your gauge on them? I have zero gauge on what's going on with them.
The Arizona Cardinals are one of those teams where good luck to them. You're in a division where it could go any which way. I just don't think it's going to go Arizona's way. And this isn't, it's not as if, the Cardinals have a bad squad. They're just unlucky. They're unlucky to be in a division where, like I said, so many things can go so many ways, but the three teams ahead of them, yeah, including the Niners, I think the Niners have more going for them than Arizona does.
Yeah.
But but it's I honestly think there's something that really could be magical there.
What?
Um,
But what? Like, let me put it this way to you: which team that is at the bottom of the conference would you have more hope for? The Arizona Cardinals or the Carolina Panthers? And it's weird to put them in the same category, but I feel like they're closer to each other than they are to any other team in their division. Which of the two teams do you think is in a better position for the future, even near future, 2-3 years from now?
I mean, as it stands right now, Arizona. I like the way Arizona's team is, and say they moved on for Kyler. I like the pieces in Arizona. I do. I especially that offense. When you have, um, uh, you know, uh, an offense that James Conner's still the running back of that team. He's not anyone to sneeze at. Marvin Harrison Jr. is entering his second season. He was real close to 101,000 last season in his rookie year. He was real close to it. And I know people like to point at Kyler Murray and be like, what's he really going to provide this team? Like I said, Kyler Murray, he had a great season last year. And one of the reasons why Marvin Harrison Jr. was able to excel as much as he did. And this offensive line, look, it's not is it top of the league? No. Is it bottom? No, it's not. But it's one of those where, it is I think over time it can develop. And then, you look at the defensive side of the ball, they've got some talented guys there. And it's again, if they move on from the quarterback, okay, they move on and they start fresh there. We'll see what Jonathan Gannon does. If Jonathan Gannon is still the head coach of Arizona after the season, I don't know what's going to happen there. I've got no clue. I don't know. But I don't think Arizona is going to be nearly as bad as people. Arizona went 8-9 last year.
Yeah.
8-9. So it wasn't as if they weren't playing competitive football. They were. They were 2 games better than the Niners, but of course the Niners had everything go wrong for them last year.
Yep.
So, being 6-11, but everything go wrong for you, okay. I can see that.
Well,
But I don't think Arizona's going to be this bottom dweller of the NFC West this season. They may finish last, but when I say bottom dweller, I don't think they're going to win 5 or less games.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
don't
going to
know.
be a competitive division, but I think it's going to be competitive because of the question marks within the division itself. Is Stafford going to be healthy enough to play a full season? What version of Sam Darnold are we going to get? Is Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall, are they going to be the answer for Brock Purdy? And what's going to happen with McCaffrey? Is McCaffrey going to stay healthy?
God, I hope so. I just drafted him.
Is that defense going to show up like they did 2 years ago?
Yeah.
There's a lot of question marks here.
There is. That's what my story for the division is: uncertainty across the board. There's no other way for me to put it. On that note, our draft is over. Let us run through our draft picks real quick, and that way we can post it on social media and people can scrutinize the heck out of how we drafted.
Mm-hmm.
I'll spit out my draft first. So I have Joe Burrow, Christian McCaffrey, Swift, Mike Evans, Rice, Hawkinson. My kicker's McPherson. I drafted the Seattle Seahawks defense, and then my flex by default, based off how I drafted him, was Chuba Hubbard. My bench is with Pickens, Mixon, Ferguson, Hunter, Rashad White, and Michael Penix as my backup quarterback.
Okay. I have top to bottom. I have Kyler Murray as my quarterback. Bijan Robinson and Bucky Irving at running back, Brian Thomas and Jackson Smith and Jigba at receiver, which I absolutely love that combo right there.
Yep.
Colston Loveland at tight end, McLaughlin, the kicker from Tampa Bay, the Bears defense, and my as it stands right now, my flex is Travion Henderson. And on the bench, I have Jordan Love as my backup. And my backup receivers are Josh Downs, Juwan Jennings, and Zay Flowers. My backup running backs are Caleb Johnson, who I think might really surprise some people this year, and Bashal Tootin, the running back for Jacksonville.
Honestly, I think you have a sneaky good bench. Whatever strategy, I don't even know if you had a strategy, but whatever strategy you implemented, I feel like you have a very solid, sneaky, strong bench that might end up being more of your starting rotation. That's
my
always
strategy
good.
was win. That's the strategy I went in with this. Is how do I win $280?
There you go.
Yeah. So
Well, there you
okay,
go.
so now that we're done with the draft, I hope you
Yep.
guys really enjoyed that. Last time we did this, we went tit for tat 4 through 1.
Yep.
Why don't you list we'll go division by division.
Yeah.
And then you can you go 4 through 1, and then I'll go 4 through 1 with my movie titles.
All right. Let's kick it off with the division that we started the conversation with. The NFC South.
Hold on. No. Let's start at the top. Let's do NFC East.
Okay. NFC East then. NFC East last year. I guess we didn't even talk about the NFC East. NFC East last year was the New York Giants, Dallas, Washington, and then Philadelphia. Always the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. For me, I'm going to tell you this division is going to stamp itself as the division rankings for this year. And as crazy as it is, because there hasn't been a repeat division champion in the NFC East. I think it's like 23 years at this point. I think this is the year that breaks. Philadelphia seems like they don't know how to lose. They don't know how to lose players, and they don't know how to. Yeah. They know exactly how to replace them. So from top to bottom, it's going to be Philadelphia, Washington, Dallas is. I have very little hope for Dallas and what they're going to do this year, and then to round it all out, the New York Giants.
Okay, so you have, because you went from 1 to 4, so you have run through yours 4 to 1.
The Giants, the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Eagles.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I have the Giants finishing last. Their movie, Made in Manhattan. Is Jackson Dart going to be the J-Lo to Brian Dable's whatever his name was in that movie? I can't remember. But Jackson Dart is a darling with the Giants right now. Absent everything that everyone is, feigning at what Cam Scatabo is doing. But is Jackson Dart going to be the next hot thing there? Is he going to be the next hot thing?
So does that mean that you think Dart's going to take the starting job? Because Russell Wilson's in place right now.
I think at some point Jackson Dart will be instilled as a starter. Okay. I think the way this Giants team is constructed, the way it's built, what are you playing for? I mean, you really don't want to play for the number 1 pick, but if you end up getting number 1 pick again, you move on from Russell Wilson. You have a franchise guy there. I believe Jackson Dart is an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
I was really high on Jackson Dart coming out of Ole Miss. I'm an LSU fan. I love watching that kid play. I mean, that dude's got a lot of grit. That he knows how to spin a pigskin. He's got an arm for days. He's got an IQ for the game. He knows how to play this game.
Yep.
Third place, Dallas Cowboys. Their movie, The Truman Show. We're just all supposed to believe what isn't there. And so, we're all living in Jerry Jones's world. He's Ed Harris, Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons. They're all, Jim Carrey. We're all supposed to believe. It's like one of the greatest gaslights in history. The biggest twist is the players on the field realize, man, Ed Harris isn't working. We're gonna need to, reverse this script to get him out of here. Number two, the commies.
Okay.
And their movie, Catch Me If You Can. Who's catching Jaden Daniels? Who's catching him? Now, the only reason that, what gives me pause for Washington is this uncertainty with Scary Terry. When you have a young quarterback, you need stability.
Yep.
You need to be able to lean on what's there. And now that Terry McLaurin's wanting to get out, or he's demanding a trade, or if he doesn't get his money, that doesn't really bode well for the way forward, especially when you have a bona fide franchise quarterback.
Yep.
And then the Eagles, like you said, I don't know if they know how to lose, but they just won the Super Bowl, so their movie is The Hangover. Back-to-back Super Bowl winners has only happened 9 times in the history of the NFL. I don't mean to sound like Ferris's principle, but 9 times. It's only happened 9 times. I'm not saying Philly can't redo it. I'm not saying they can't get there again. But Jalen Hurts is going to have to show me and essentially, really the rest of the league that he is able to be the centerpiece of this offense.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to need to. I think there's still something there for him to prove, especially when you have a reigning 2,000-yard running back right behind you.
Yeah.
And so, not that Saquon, I don't think Saquon's going to do it again. But you know what? I didn't think Saquon was going to do it last year. So, this is the Eagles' division to lose by far.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I think the biggest X factor for the Eagles is going to be Jalen Hurts. It has yet to happen, but I eventually think teams are going to figure out, as crazy as it sounds for me to even say this, I think teams are going to figure out some type of scheme to slow down Saquon Barkley, and then it's going to fall on the shoulders of Jalen Hurts to carry that team. I think this could be the year for that, but again, it sounds crazy to me to say that teams are going to slow Barkley down, but I didn't say stop him. I'm just saying slow down. Maybe he'll only get 18 or 1999 yards, whatever that looks like. But at the end of the day, I think it'll fall on Jalen Hurts to pick up the slack for whenever Barkley does get slowed down this year, which I think is very likely to happen because it's hard. It's so hard for a running back to stay healthy, a running back to repeat amazing success that they accomplished the year before. So it's going to have to be him that brings that home for them. And the likelihood, I'm not going to say they're likely to win the Super Bowl, but they have a very good chance to at least be at the Super Bowl again this year.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next division, which is the NFC North.
This one is a hard one for me, and we already dove deep into what this division looks like. I'm going to make a crazy ranking from the bottom up. I'm going to put Chicago at 4.
Okay.
But not a far behind 4.
That is crazy. Oh, the Bears.
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
But I'm going to put Minnesota at 3 because I think the true reality of having a rookie, quote-unquote rookie quarterback is going to settle in. Then I'm going to put Detroit at 2 and the Packers at 1.
Wow.
That is, yes, I know. I think it's going to be a tight division. I think it'll run its course the same way that it did last year, or very similar to how it did last year, where it really came down to the last game of the season for the division championship. But I think this time, instead of being Minnesota in the race, it's going to be Detroit and Green Bay in the race, and somehow Green Bay is going to end up winning that division.
You know what's crazy? The craziest thing about your ranking in NFC North is that it matches mine exactly. I have the Bears, of course, finishing last in this division, not because of lack of pieces on this team, but a combination of who was Caleb Williams at quarterback and just the absolute run through that the teams above them.
It's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet of a division.
So I have the Bears at number 4. Their movie is Saving Private Ryan. this season could be a bloodbath with Caleb Williams behind center, not really understanding the offense. And it's going to take a miracle for Private Ryan Poles to keep his job.
Oh, I thought Private Ryan was going to be Caleb.
No, it's Ryan Poles. Private Ryan Poles. This is about him trying to save himself. Like, is this going to be where they struggle out the gate and he doesn't try to influence Ben Johnson to put Tyson Bagent in the starting role just to see what can happen there?
No.
The Vikings, number 3. Their movie, How to Train a Dragon. It's a story about a hapless young Viking named J.J. McCarthy. Is he going to be the answer? Can he follow up with what Sam Darnold did last season? Now, they have Jordan Addison, they got Justin Jefferson, they got Aaron Jones in the backfield. They have a stout O-line. That defense is always there to play, of course. Is J.J. McCarthy going to be able to carry the torch? Is he, how much time is it going to take for him to be able to figure out how to be an NFL starting quarterback when real game time starts? Number 2, Detroit Lions. Their movie, The Pursuit of Happiness. Is this the year they get to the Super Bowl? I don't know. Detroit has been, a poor Will Smith. Dan Campbell's essentially Will Smith and Jaden Smith is Jared Goff. Is this the year where, they really figure it out and they reach the Super Bowl? Not as division winners, because I have the Green Bay Packers finishing there. In their movie, Love Actually. Jordan Love and the Packers will rebound, and they will retake the division in the year that Detroit has experienced so much turnover.
Yeah. the only thing about the Detroit Pursuit of Happiness movie title is the fact that Will Smith guaranteed his success because of his constant drive to be successful. You're not even putting Detroit in the position to be the division leaders, and somehow Pursuit of Happiness is the movie that you would tie to.
Hey, look, Will Smith's character was an underdog. Okay, first he loses Scuba Steve in the street chasing the subway.
Yep.
Then he's got to stop some crazy maniac from trying to get in the bathroom of the subway so he can fix his lamp invention. And then he's in a cab trying to do a Rubik's Cube in 6 seconds with no guarantee that he's going to be able to get an inroad into this apprenticeship. So, look, that is Dan Campbell, okay?
Okay, all right.
This is Dan Campbell trying to – really, he's trying to keep it together, too, because of the turnover.
Yeah,
He's trying to keep this together.
That part is probably the part that I would say ties best into the Pursuit of Happiness, because Will Smith, the entire movie, is just trying to keep it together as the whole world collapses around him. And Dan Campbell's world seems like it's collapsed a little bit, and he has to right the ship and kind of rebuild everything that's going on, and everything that he's been building for the last 4 years. All right, next division. Is it the NFC South?
Yes.
Okay. The NFC South, where you could be wrong 100% of the rankings that you place. I am going to put Carolina at 4. To your happiness, I'm going to put New Orleans at 3, Atlanta at 2, and Tampa at 1 again. And they're going to do 5 years in a row of winning that division.
This is crazy. This is the 3rd division in a row where we agree.
We never agree. We never
agree on anything. This is the first time. I thought I was going to shock you with the NFC North thing.
No.
No, I have Carolina at number 4, and their movie Joe Dirt, because it's just dirt. You can sit there and say Dear Tay, but why are you trying to French it up? Okay, I don't know what's happening in Carolina. I don't. I think they're really just playing for the number 1 pick. I think they're playing for Garrett Nussmeier. I think they are really trying to just, Dave Canales wants to bring in his own guy. What better than a guy who, by the end of this college football season, is going to be the most revered quarterback in LSU history, next to Joe Burrow. Number 3, New Orleans Saints, their movie, Deja Vu. Not only did this movie take place in New Orleans, but it's deja vu. But what are we doing at quarterback? What are we doing with the cap? What are we doing with aging veterans on this team? Why can't we just start this over? Every year, I'm coming in as a Saints fan, and I have to manufacture some sort of hope. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, yeah, Spencer Rattler should be the starting quarterback. And I think Rattler can be a starting quarterback in this league. But I don't know how much leash Kellen Moore's going to give him if he gives any. He drafted Tyler Shove for a reason. So and we all know it's a tale as old as time. The head coach comes in the castle as Bell and gets rid of the beast that is the quarterback that's already there. So this, I don't know what's happening. Number 2, Atlanta Falcons. I'm having some fun with this movie title. It's Flight of the Phoenix. How high can Penix fly? Is Penix going to be the one that is going to be the resurgence at quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons? What's going to happen? Or is Kirk Cousins going to be the mutiny that tries to stop, Giovanni Ribisi from fixing the plane? I don't know. Number 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's Pirates of the Caribbean. They're going to have fun with this division. They have really nothing to worry about. This team is primed and it's ready to go to be able to be the winner of this division. Nothing's changing there at all.
No. My only question to you on this is, if you had to give it a percentage chance, what percent chance would you give Penix from getting benched at some point in the season?
15.
Okay, so not very likely.
15%.
No, that's not. I thought you were going to put it a little bit higher. I don't know. I feel like you're not fully on board with Penix. I get the vibes that you're not fully on board with him, so I was just curious if you were going to be like a 50-50 kind of thing.
I'm not on board with him, but I also know that Kirk Cousins is on one leg.
Yeah.
And if you watch the quarterback series, Kirk Cousins was the whole time, halfway through that series, hey, I don't think I should be the quarterback. Okay, well, if you don't think you should be the quarterback, then don't be the quarterback. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, you've been in this league. You've been an Uber agent. You've got yourself half a bill. Like, what? Okay, all right, then carry the clipboard. All right, you're a nice guy, Kirk. But if you're going to sit there and just, freaking tell Raheem Morris, hey, I'm not the guy. Oh, okay. All right.
That is the most expensive paperweight I've ever seen. What is he making? Like $40 million to hold the clipboard for Penix Jr.? It's quite
right now, there is a 15% chance that he does get in. So, yeah.
All right. Last division, the NFC West, the one where I don't even know what to say about this division. I'm just going to throw them out from the bottom to the top.
I have a feeling we will disagree on this one.
We might. I'm going to put Arizona 4. I'm going to put Seattle 3. Wow. The Rams 2, and San Francisco establishes themselves as the division winner again.
Wow! Mm-hmm. We really disagree.
I'm sure we do. And I hate the 49ers, which is blowing my mind, the fact that I'm putting them again at the top.
I have Arizona at 4.
Yep.
And not because of the roster stinks, but just because, like we alluded to, or like we said, this is a division that has teams above them that are just equipped that much better than them. And even with the question marks, I still see Arizona finishing last. Their movie, Scarface. Say hello to my little friend, Tyler Murray. Like I said, he had the best statistical year since 2021. And with a projected top 10 O-line and Marvin Harrison Jr. in his second season, this could be a very surprising year for the Cardinals. Now, it sounds like, why didn't I put them third? It's because third, I have the San Francisco 49ers. And their movie is a Lego movie. Because I've been told Brock Purdy is the special. And Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are determined to trust their instincts with building something completely unconventional. So I just look. I have nothing against Brock Purdy. Nothing. I just don't see Brock Purdy as the second coming of Joe Montana. The rest and Steve Young, like the rest of these Niner fans do. I got one Niner fan who actually lives in the world that we call reality and understands that Brock Purdy. I mean, look, he is good. He's good. He's got some great traits about him. He's got the same traits that if Caleb Williams had, Caleb Williams would be a success. I would be more guaranteed Caleb would be a success in this league. But Brock Purdy, he's got some chutzpah about him. He's got a thick skin. He didn't come in here with a hot head, which is surprising being Mr. Irrelevant. He can sit there and look at all the undrafted players and say, ha ha, at least I got drafted. Look, Brock Purdy is behind this O-line of San Francisco that I have huge question marks about, but I do trust in the system that Kyle Shanahan has. He has an ability to build a competent offense, not want to win the Super Bowl with a 25-point lead, but he does have the ability to build a competent offense, at least to the potential to get you to the playoffs.
But not enough to win the division. Got it.
Number 2, the Los Angeles Rams.
Wow.
The Los Angeles Rams are number 2. Their movie, Moneyball. Les Snead has proven that he is unafraid of moving on from declining players. He is going to build this squad with the players that he sees fit. The biggest question mark, because it is a question mark, is Matthew Stafford's back.
Yep.
And let's say he misses a couple weeks, he comes back. Football's a rough sport. There's not enough injections in the world. This isn't Any Given Sunday where they're just or Varsity Blues where they're just gonna prop him up and then throw him back out there again, and then everything's gonna be just fine. This Matthew Stafford injury is a problem. It's a problem with LA. I love that they added Devontae Adams because I could sit there and say that Les Snead's just going out there to go get a name. No, he moved on from one of the most treasured receivers in the league in team history, in Cooper Kupp. Moved on from him like that.
Yep.
And so he is not afraid to move on from guys if he doesn't believe that the metrics match up with the name. And Devontae Adams, he's 32, but he's still got a lot left in that tank. He's still a top-tier receiver in this league, and if Stafford is healthy and he's a quarterback, great things will happen. Number 1, of course, the Seattle Seahawks. In their movie, I Am Sam. Okay? I'm not saying that Sam Darnold's retarded. I'm saying that Sam Darnold has come into this league and he says, I am Sam. This is who I am. I love green eggs and ham. I've already said Mike McDonald has built this defense. He has built this defense. They know who they are. They are going to attack, and they are going to be brutal on any offense that comes in front of them. And you've got Kenneth Walker, you've got Jackson Smith and Jigba there.
Yep.
This is and an O-line that did improve because they made the intentional decision to use a first-round pick, the first time in eons, on an O-lineman in Gray Zabel, who is I thought one of the more underrated prospects in the NFL draft coming in. So they already had a strong defensive interior. They've improved the offensive interior. You want to win ball games. You strengthen the interior. And with Sam Darnold coming in as a quarterback here, Seattle has enough weapons in order for Sam Darnold to actually succeed in this league or in this division, especially with how strong that defense is.
Yeah, I'm still trying to recover from the fact that you put the Niners at 3rd. Like, I understand your takes on the other teams, but I would have
put the Niners at number 1.
I did. That's my
Okay.
take. That's my point. That I would have thought you were gonna say Niners at second, like one of the other. They buddy hop one of the Rams or Seattle teams. You put them at third. That is blowing my mind. Again, like I said, I don't even like the 49ers, but I guess you maybe dislike them more than I do because
It's not nothing to do with dislike. This has everything to do with the other two teams in front of them. Like I said, that defense in Seattle is stout. The Rams, even if Stafford misses some time, yes, it is going to be a step back, absolutely. But Les Snead has drafted guys, young guys, who were and they were one of the least penalized teams in the league last season.
I know.
One of the least. And they were super, super young. And so there is an opportunity here for the Rams to continue to maybe hold their ground to be able to still try to win the division. As things stand today, there is more out of all four of those teams. To me, there is more certainty with the Seattle Seahawks.
That is crazy to me, considering I would have even given you the more benefit of the doubt if you put the Rams at number one, but you've blown my mind with your NFC West take. But again, like I said early on, it's like the division of uncertainty, so it doesn't. No ranking will surprise me with this division. Even if we look into January and we're both wrong, if Arizona wins the division, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
I had my sheet upside down. I have the Cardinals number one.
I
have the Seahawks last. Oh,
either way, I would not be surprised.
Yeah. No. No.
All right, JB, we are done. Do you have your bottle of choice in front of you?
I do. I was drinking this bottle of Lalo tequila.
Ooh, you sip tequila, and it still will forever blow my mind that you sip tequila. I cannot do that.
Yeah, and I was smoking. I went to New Orleans this past weekend to celebrate the death. Well, not celebrate, but
celebrate the life of.
Yeah, celebrate the life of my grandmother, who had just turned 75 last Saturday, died on Sunday. And so wife and I went down to New Orleans this weekend. They picked us up from the airport. First thing we did, we went to Cigar Factory in New Orleans. And so I went and bought a box of 20, and I'm smoking the Social Club Torpedo.
Nice.
It is delicious. If you ever have an opportunity to go to New Orleans, if you're not there already, go to the Cigar Factory on Decatur. They roll their own cigars in the store. They don't sell the name brand ones. The only cigars they sell are the ones they roll there, and they are absolutely delicious.
Nice.
What are you drinking?
I finished off the bottle of Russell's Kentucky Straight Bourbon. Again, 10 years old, 90
that's
proof.
the one I got you for your birthday.
Yep. I felt like it was fitting that on our draft episode where you get welcomed into our draft, that I should finish off the bottle that you gave me. So
the league called Quarter White. I love it. Yeah.
The league has called back that pass up. And on that note, JB, tell everybody where they can find the full episodes and our snippets.
You can find full episodes, box scores, and bourbon on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a follow. It helps out so much. And then additional content at BSB Sports 24 on the TikTok, the Insta, and the X. Leave a comment, respond to us. I'm dropping stuff pretty much daily across those platforms.
Yep.
Interact with us. Look us up. Enjoy the episode. And we both hope that you enjoy this episode as much as we've enjoyed filming it for you. And in that note, stay thirsty.
Cheers, everyone. We'll see you next week.